Happy Monday morning, 522. I hope everybody is having a great day so far. I hope most of you are on summer break. I know in the Sacramento region, all but about one district is now on summer break. So if you're not, finish strong. I'm excited. Today is my official first day of summer break. Not real excited that it's 105 degrees today. But let's get started on week 6. This is a really important quote to me. I've actually not watched The Departed. I can truly say that, but I do love this quote. I do not want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me. And really, that just speaks to how we can impact where we are. It's really easy to be sitting with a group of people and get stuck in the complaining about lack of this, lack of that, or a specific student or things of that nature. But really, we have more control over our environment than it has over us. So I hope that you are the positive influence in the areas where you are. So before we get into specifically week 6 stuff, a little bit about week 5. Going through the discussion posts, they were really good this week. There was a lot of activity, and it was awesome to just sit back and read and see those conversations happen. The one thing I want to say is there was a lot of technology causing things. And I want to say that, at least it's my opinion, and there's quite a bit of research out there, that technology is not necessarily causing shorter attention spans, or it's not causing students to not be able to synthesize. It's the lack of training around technology and the poor use of technology. Technology is just a tool, like a piece of paper and a pencil. And so it can't cause things, but if we don't use it right, if we don't teach students right, if parents are not guiding their students in the right manner in the use of technology, there can be bad outcomes. But technology in itself isn't a positive or negative. It's just another tool that needs to be taught and trained on better. So better practices around it. And that all does not lay on us as educators. A big portion of that really does lay on the parents, which is a completely different conversation. I totally understand. The idea of 21st century learning is interesting because we're in the 21st century learning, 21st century. And so a lot of times it's talked about something that's in the future. It should be a present participle, right? It should be doing currently. And so when people talk about, oh, we need to build, work towards building 21st century learning or 21st century students, you can always come back and say, hey, our students should be there, and we should be pushing them to improve in the areas they're already doing 21st century learning in. But this isn't a future thing, it's a current thing. As far as a couple of your assignments, or a couple pieces of assignments, talk about those leaders in educational technology. So be thinking about people in your PLN that you would consider leaders in the world of ed tech. And a great ideal around that is innovators or versus disruptors. I dislike the phrase innovator in education because it's cliche. An innovator isn't someone that just tries a whole bunch of new things, right? Innovators are successful and they fail, but they keep working at it, and they don't try things just to try them. There's always intention. Versus a disruptor is very intentional about, taking something that's a little bit different and trying to disrupt something that's been the status quo. They're not disrupting to cause pain or conflict. They're disrupting to try to improve. So just a couple thoughts. Hopefully that helps you as you go throughout this week. Week 6, we're getting into the downward trend. Week 7, there's no actual assignments or posts because you're working towards week 8, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Your content for the week, which I'm going to pop over to in a minute, your discussion question, and your couple assignments. Once again, you have one discussion post, and then you have your future predictions for education presentation, which we'll get into in a minute. So week 6, this is your week. You can find everything right here. The Inside Out School, just so you see it, is not an extremely long article, but once again, there's lots of ads, which is the one thing I dislike about some of these. And if you're like me and you get really distracted, I do this a lot actually, is I copy and paste it. I have one document that I just paste over, and I copy and paste text into that document just to help me focus. So this is talking about a learning model for the inside out learning model. And then there's 9 characteristics of a 21st century learning. I'm not saying that you have to agree with these. I'm not saying I necessarily agree with these, because I've seen, there's the 4 C's of 21st century learning. And so these are 9 characteristics, but just read that to give you some base for the discussions this week. So your discussion post is after reviewing Becoming 21st Century Teachers, which is this video right here. It's 6 minutes long, or 5:56, so it's not super long. So after watching that, write a thoughtful reflection regarding innovative teaching ideas and respond to 2 peers' thoughtful reflections on the topic. And once again, remember, your responses need to add to the conversation, and they need to have some substance. They can't be, 50 or 100 words. There's not a threshold of words that you need to meet. It's just that it needs to contribute and be thoughtful and add to the conversation. So that is, you only have 1 discussion post for this week. Your assignment for this week is a presentation. So Google Slides, PowerPoint, a Prezi, Powtoon, there's a lot of things out there. And it's worth 20 points. And what you're going to do is create a presentation based on your future predictions for the next 10, 20, 30, or 50 years. So you don't have to do 10, 20, 30, and 50. If you want to do a couple time frames, you're more than welcome to. But your predictions of education and technology. Don't forget to have an introduction, and I'd also say a conclusion to what are disruptive innovations today and what you think they might be in the future. You want to do some analysis, your opinion on it, your predictions. 5 to 7 minutes, and something a little bit different, they want it hosted online, so either YouTube or Vimeo, and then you're going to share that link and make it public. As always, you also need to upload the slides themselves as an artifact. So in Google Slides, it's really easy to save as a PDF, and I can even show you that again real quick. So here's your rubric. Your design, and most of you did amazing jobs in your design, can really add to your presentation. So make sure your design is matching your content. 5 to 7 overall, hosted online. So YouTube is probably the easiest, since you have a Concordia Gmail account, you have a Concordia YouTube account, so you can host it there. Everything needs to be done in APA at Concordia, so make sure you're using APA. And then at the end, cite. So, you can do since you're presenting through video, you can definitely cite at that last slide. You can put all your citations there. You don't have to talk through your citations, though. So that is the rubric for it. Real quick, I just pulled up a slideshow and I just put a word in there. So if you wanted to present using screencast, let me move my head. See, right there is screencast, and you can actually capture your screen. You can actually put your head on the box if you want to do that. All the options are right there. And then once you present, you would just hit this. And now as I'm presenting and talking through my points, it's recording my voice. If you want to leave your floating head, you can. You don't have to. But what's also nice, I would highly recommend turn on closed captioning. It makes your slides a little bit smaller. But now for those students that have audio deficiencies or disabilities, those students would be able to read your word. YouTube does do closed captioning, but what I'm finding when I'm doing presentations, it's much easier just to turn on the closed captioning through Google Slides and record it using screencast versus using the YouTube closed captioning function. So that would be how you would screen capture your presentation. You would just present it like you're presenting it to someone. We need to see your slides. We need to have the audio so we can hear you present. You don't have to put your floating head, but if you want to, that's great. The one thing I would say on your design, however you're designing your layout, you can actually, because you can size this box, let's say you were going to put it down in this corner, you could actually design it to make sure there's no content in this corner. And you can even have a little box around it or a little design if you wanted to do that. So just know if you're going to do a floating head that you design appropriately, that way it doesn't cover any of your content. And then once again, If you want to download as a PDF, it's right there, download as PDF. So that's what you would upload to Blackboard Submit, and then you would also put the link, make it public, put the link to the YouTube video or Vimeo if that's what you're using. So that's really it for week 6. So it's the one discussion board post and the presentation, which I'm looking forward to actually hearing you guys present. I'm excited about that. Like I said, real quick, moving on, I just looking forward so you guys know what's coming up. Week 7, there's some content, but there's no discussion post and there's no assignment. So week 7 is definitely a light week for everyone. But what I would say is they do that because week 8, you have discussion posts and you have a project, a paper, I'm sorry. So you have one discussion post and you have this assignment that's worth 50 points. So it's a pretty big assignment within your grade. So you want to nail it for sure. And so this is your emerging tech book report that you picked at the beginning of the class. Summary of the text, critique of themes, a discussion of the qualifications, and review posted in Goodreads. So you can go through this, and I'll go through this rubric much more next week. But week 7 should really be used to be working on your paper because it's a huge chunk of your score for this course. So that is week 6. I hope everyone has a good week. As usual, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email or a text, or you can call me. But have a great week.